All right, we got the news late last night, that the Players Union and the NBA have come to an agreement to have our next NBA basketball season begin on December 22nd. A couple of things that went through my mind. Number one, on this whole return to play December 22nd, because this is going to be fast. Number one, is the NBA going to mandate, or are they going to follow like whatever states say on allowing people at these games? Are there going to be 5,000 people in, like, say, Orlando or Miami or somewhere like that, and then none when you play at the Warriors or at the Lakers or something like that? I really don't know. That's one thing that came to mind. The second thing that came to mind is, how are we doing this schedule? We're talking about a reduction in travel. You've lost 10 games off the schedule. Are you playing your conference and maybe even your division more because of the slightly shortened schedule? Are you only playing teams from the other conference once? I mean, you just do the quick math, right? Like, are you playing? You can't play every team twice and then play your own conference, 3 and 4 times.
What we're going to see is, they want to reduce travel by 25%. I reported this a couple of weeks back, that I believe someone else did too, that they want to have MLB style series. Okay. Like you might, if you have the let's say the Lakers and Suns, maybe they play 3 times in a row. Right. And I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work in terms of the travel aspect. Maybe the Lakers would have to face the Suns 3 times in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, that's to be determined. We'll find out more details over the coming weeks. But the fact is it does sound like they want to reduce travel by doing that. And maybe that means also, I believe this has been reported before too, but releasing the schedule in halves. Like, you could release something ahead of time, for like pre-All-Star break. And then maybe you have some cancellations and whatnot, and that will determine how you structure the schedule in the second half. So we'll see what happens here. It's going to be complicated. It's complicated for the league to put this together with health and safety. It's complicated for the schedule makers with booking arenas. That's tough too, even though it's a lot of open dates right now, because there's not like concerts you're competing against, but there still is hockey. There's still, other things that are going to be happening as we, slowly do have more and more events in the coming year. But it's going to be tough, but it does sound like, I'll tell you what, I don't think the NBA would be pushing for a December 22nd start if they didn't think they could pull it off by then.
Well,
it's going to be tough, but I don't think they would be doing it. The work has been happening not since, the Lakers beat the Heat in the finals. The work had started long before that. And it happened while once they were in Disney, they were there, that's when the work started. And they did get this done ahead of time.
The thing I wonder about is the whole East-West thing. Like, does Philly now go to play one game in Miami and then travel and play? Because within conferences, what you're saying is much easier, right? Where I'm going to go, or are there just certain teams that you play? That's what Major League Baseball did, right? Where you ended up having like the Cardinals play against the Royals. They played like they played a division on the other side. So in that case, they played the American League Central, and those were the games that they played against. But they didn't play other teams, right? And they went there for a 3-game series, and then it was reciprocated. I wonder, how do you do that when you've got teams in the different conferences that are playing one-offs against each other? And because that's when travel gets tough. It's easy to go to Phoenix and play 3 games, right? It's the going to Phoenix and playing 1 game, and then going to, LA and playing 1 game, and then going to wherever and playing 1 game. I'd imagine, I'll tell you this, regarding what you're saying, boy, there's going to be a lot of teams that play Lakers Clippers back to back, and that is a bitch. Right?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because they're going to pack those games together. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah. No doubt.
Right?
I mean, so you might, I mean, it's going to be the type of thing where I would bet this is going to be ever evolving, because we are going to get positive tests. It's inevitable. And so the league needs to remain flexible in how they structure the schedule and how they reschedule games, perhaps into the second half of the season. It's not going to be easy, man. We're going to be having a lot of stories about, so-and-so tested positive, X amount of players and staff members need to isolate. out for the next 4 or 5 days, whatever it might be, until like the NFL has, they have like 2 negative tests. But the fact is, man, is this is not going to be easy. And it would not surprise me if at some point after December 22nd, like what happened in MLB, like what happened in the NFL, we're going to be talking about, like, can they actually do this? Is this going to work? That's going to happen.
I think you're right. I know you're right. I mean, it is exactly what's going to happen, and there will be all the think pieces. Should we be doing this? And
our first podcast in January, like next January, that's probably around the timing of when we're going to be talking about that. Like, should they be doing this? Is this going to happen? I mean, it's inevitable. And just like the MLB and just like the NFL, they're going to try to power through it, and hopefully they're able to do it, and nobody's able to. Hopefully everybody's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like I said, the NBA didn't start working on this in October. The work started on this probably before June and July, when things really started at Disney.
So the league did, and the league probably knew, like, hey, we need to have a contingency plan if everything can go through. That being said, front offices are scrambling.
Oh yeah, they are,
because they didn't know.
Oh yeah,
because that you're just in limbo. I mean, and I think a lot of them around the league. And I've read all manner of stories from all the different markets, and it seems like the general sentiment was from a lot of these guys was, how the hell are we going to pull this off? While the NBA may have been prepared for this, front offices, there was no real way to prepare, and the summers are incredibly crazy anyway. And you know what it's like during free agency, and you are having to put together, like, anything you want to do for your roster. You want to be able to have these guys at worst in training camp. Well, what if I tell you training camp starts in 3 weeks? You've got to revamp. You've got to add your draft picks, make your trades, and add your free agents and or re-sign your free agents. And you've got to do it within, honestly, I know that they talk behind the scenes. I know there's a ton of tampering. There's still
more than ever this year.
but there's still 1 week to get that stuff done. And what you can't do is let's use it for instance, okay? Let's say Fred VanVleet. Toronto says, let's see what somebody offers him. And then the Knicks come out and they say, we'll give you $25 million a year. Whatever it is, right? I'm just making up a scenario, right? There still takes time for you to decide.
Sources.
No, I'm just saying it still takes time for you to decide whether or not you're going to re-sign him. You want to find out if you're going to be able to get another free agent. Like, this stuff takes time. Like, I know that everybody says, hey, they could just get it done. But like with free agency, sometimes you have to wait around to find out, like, okay, if our guy walks, are we going to have a backup plan? Are we going to have a small forward if our guy gets signed by somebody else? Are we going to be able to make the trade that we want to make? Are we drafting with that in mind? It's just so hard, and it usually is like way drawn out, and now it is so short. That amount of time is so short that this is the greatest challenge. You better hope that your front office is smart, because navigating this, there are going to be a lot of dummies that take advantage of if you run a team.
The teams with continuity are the teams that are going to be in the best position for this weird, fast-paced offseason. Like your Grizzlies, they have everybody back. A team like the Nets. There's a lot of teams that have continuity, but any front office that had changeover, it's going to be a challenge. And I think they can make it work. I mean, like, you're against a deadline here, and when you're against a deadline, things naturally happen quicker. But I do think about, like, draft prospects. November 18th, you get drafted to somewhere you didn't expect to get drafted, and you basically have 1 week, a week and a half to find a place in your new city right before training camp starts in late November, early December. And then a couple weeks later, you're playing in the NBA. No preseason or limited preseason. Basically, for the players, draft picks or players who sign at on a new team, they get to move their entire life. And because of the timing for everything, some of those people in the league might have kids, and they might not be able to move their families. Like, there's a lot of challenges that players are going to be facing.
I had not thought about this. And here's something that should be able to take. There's two things that this may fix. Number one, the draft night trade, where you got to put on the hat of the stupid team that didn't even take you, right? And you've been traded.
I hate that. Why?
No.
Can they please change that?
Well, this would be the year, right?
Please
Say,
do
hey,
it.
And let's say, cut the bullshit. Let's just go ahead and like you're on the T-Wolves, right?
No kidding.
You know,
Like, let's say the Wolves trade the number 1 pick to Charlotte, and Charlotte takes Wiseman. Can we have a Hornets hat for Wiseman wherever he's zooming from? Can we please get him on? Let's not mess around here.
The other one is, and this one is very interesting, is the free agency thing, because there is this moratorium on here that the NBA, enforces, and they'll find teams or whatever. But Shams and Woj report where every free agent has signed, at 12:01, the big ones, a lot of them we end up knowing, but these teams can't even announce that these guys are on their team for maybe a week. So
that will be different this year, I think.
Hopefully we get rid of that madness too. There's two things that this actually might fix. The whole, I give you a hat, even though that's not the team you're going to play for on draft night. And we just act like that trade didn't, happen. So we expedite these trades to be able to reflect what actually is happening. And then on the free agency thing, we go ahead and lift that, or at least shorten it to where you can say, okay, this guy signed with this team. And that's that. You know what I mean? Or when he's expected to. Hopefully we get, pen to paper a little bit quicker.